To Christine Amapour, CNN, from Weaver Johnsey, Rosamond, California. It is 9:02 in the morning, West Coast time. It is the 18th of November, 2023. I must apologize for not catching your hour, and I'll probably have to look at CNN's schedule, see if I can find the podcast for that one. But you had asked a question concerning about what do we fear in the world. Uh, Online social media and so-called independent media. They're scary. It's one thing when corporate media decides to go after other things, and they go after with gusto more and more, trying to make their points, and sometimes not hitting a mark because they're so focused on one side. I like to see if there's anything balanced, so I go to the independents, and hopefully they got balance. But apparently they're more radical than anybody else these days that they claim. They're like ravenous wolves at times, going after each other left and right, trying to find the truth, trying to find something over here, prove it against this. We're not trying to spout the argument. We're not trying to spout the anger, the injustice, but we have to show it in front. We have to we have to scare the hell out of you people without scaring the hell out of you people. Excuse me. We don't mean to scare the living daylights out of you, but we're going to scare the living daylights out of you. Don't you understand that? Give me 1 second, please. And it seems to be hooking, catching, and filleting their viewer left and right. And I think sometimes media does that at times. And they know they want to show their versions of it. And everybody keeps forgetting what history's like. What do I mean by that one? Viewpoint, perspective, context. Ms. Amanpour, have you ever remembered the stories about how the first press began? Benjamin Franklin. Under his own viewpoint, under his reporters observing and trying to be objective as possible. If we didn't have that, I guess we wouldn't have the revolution that we're so fond of celebrating left and right. Word would not get out. Of course, word would get out by word of mouth, but not by actually putting it on paper and recording it. And without the perspective and viewpoint he provided, we wouldn't have what we have right now. Not to mention in the Civil War as well. Certain important things in our timeline that we depend upon the press, that we depend upon the media to explain things to us, only in the viewpoint and theoretical objectivity of the reporter as they're seeing it. What was being taught, theoretically taught to the journalist students, including these days. But sometimes you can't help it but if they've got their own agenda, trying to warp and mutate. That's why when social media comes out, people think, okay, now we get to see it from other people's point of view. Okay, fine. Sometimes it may not be all that easy. And then when I start hearing rumors or stories being put out by the independents, either verified or not verified by anybody else, I question. Did you or did you not hear any stories concerning about media being under one or two sources or just one or two outlets? One particular lunatic in World War II came to mind. If I happen to use his name, he'll probably get the algorithms of Google and YouTube on me for mentioning the name. Apparently, he was employed by the megalomania egomaniac who took over Europe for a time. And his bit of misinformation was trying to prove one particular point of view. And sometimes I kept thinking about what we had experienced over the past 10, 15 years, if that actually happened. Or just about. But I'm also seeing how that's being played out in social media. Social media has a way of feeding upon itself. They're like piranhas, can't find any other kind of source of protein, so they got to feed upon themselves, be cannibalistic. You ever heard of a piranha being cannibalistic? I've heard about insects doing that, roaches. I see the evidence constantly every single day about that one, and no jest and no joke. I'm dealing with a bug war here at home in an apartment complex in Roseman, California. That deals with the lovely insects all over the damn place. I still haven't got rid of. It'll take them, I don't know what it'll take. But that being said, that being used as an example, propaganda in whatever kind of form has a way of changing things in our lives and our viewpoints. So what seems to be news sometimes comes up as propaganda, and I keep asking myself, just what kind of viewpoint in a kaleidoscope is the media trying to produce or actually show life in its own way? You've seen a kaleidoscope. How was your nausea at that time, my dear? I've seen too much death, destruction, and how we try to cover it up left and right. How we keep pointing the fingers at each other left and right. It's no wonder we're still alive, but still conflicted and confused why it's happening. Because we blame it on the other person, and it's the other person's fault, and that's how it is. I hear the social media, the progressives out there, the independents out there who think they know better. One of them is trying to run for president right now. Cenk Uygur, I think, from Young Turks. He immigrated into this country. And he's running on a 1964 or 68, somewhere in there, Supreme Court decision that even foreign-born people coming into the country are allowed to run for president. And yet we couldn't even allow Schwarzenegger to have that option, let alone Senator Ted Cruz, because of what the Constitution had said previously, or interpreted in a way that doesn't allow any foreign people to be rulers in our country. It had been a precedent, a long-standing precedent of not having any foreign body to rule the United States. Till it was challenged a long time ago. But did you see anybody else foreign-born trying to become president right after that ruling? Not until we have about nearly a century later that we have this going on. But you would hear that happening in the media these days? 1 second, please. Sorry about that. Have to keep taking care of the throat sometimes. I see the constant news sources about how anti-Semitism is on the rise, and Islamophobia also on the rise. Sometimes I've seen some of the other people just downplaying it on social media, and also on occasion on regular media. We had this attack happen in October within the country of Israel that has been affecting us ever since. In different viewpoints, I don't think both sides are looking at gray areas enough. We saw the one side, and it kept being replayed over and over and over again. But then we see the suffering of how retaliation happen, and that's being replayed over and over again. Both sides are telling the sides of their own version of truth. But there's always a gray area in the middle of the damn thing, isn't there? Are we seeing it? It doesn't mean I'm going to support any terrorism at this point over here, but I was taught in a political science class a long time ago. There are freedom fighters, and then there are terrorists. You flip the side of the coin left and right. But is there a third? The edge. We're taught to look at one side or the other side of the coin, but we're not looking at the edge. So what is the gray area on this one? What is the truth? As a journalist, you've seen a lot. You have your own unique perspective. You have your own unique viewpoint of things. You're saying, I don't know what I'm talking about at this point over here. Yeah, I'm 57 years old. I haven't been around, but I'm seeing everyone else's production of what's being presented. And so, sometimes I have to question. I have to keep questioning what's reality, what's the truth. Are they the same or are they different? I have to ask, what is the actual viewpoint of the truth? And I am being directed back to an experiment. Miss Amirpour, if you had seen refraction, I'm talking about light being torn apart into different colors. You have the one source of truth, but everyone else has different viewpoints looking at the thing. Who's right and who's wrong? Sometimes I wonder. You see it in black and white in the book. Okay, maybe it's legitimate, maybe it's not. If it's concerning about mathematical formulas of sorts, okay, you learn it, you do it, and you keep wondering where's the applications for this. You read things in different books left and right, and sometimes the viewpoints of the author come across because either it's fiction, they got a little bit of truth buried in there somewhere, you just have to dig it out. You have to look at it in a different point of view. If it's nonfiction, well, then they're trying to tell you the story. They're trying to tell you the truth at that point. Are we getting it? Do we want to get it? Is it being banned because people got it and they're just afraid to look at the damn thing? We're so screwed we don't even realize it. So what are we doing about it? We argue. We argue about it. We keep thinking that we're right. But who is? I have to keep questioning. I have to keep asking. I have to keep prodding. I'm hearing everyone else's solid proof and solid viewpoints as the absolute. So I'm going to ask you, as a woman who's seen a great deal, what is the absolute truth? You can only go by what you've seen, what you've experienced, what you've learned, by your own viewpoint, by your own perspective. Is that enough? Should that be enough? I'm not asking you to stretch the truth. I'm trying to ask a question whether or not if the things we're encountering right now in the press, are they important enough? I should be asking Benjamin Franklin. I should be asking Benjamin Franklin if he was still alive. Of course, he'd be a ghost at this point. But was it necessary? In order to achieve change, what we have right now, I think it is necessary. We're just not understanding, or we don't want to understand. The tragedy happening in a country called Israel has a hell of a lot of repercussions all over this place. All the way down to the local neighborhoods. It scares me. scares me to walk onto a liberal campus, my little community college of Antelope Valley College in Lancaster, California. We try to be open-minded to a lot of things as much as possible, but when it comes down for racism and hatred and bigotry of any and all sorts, they don't like it, they don't want it. They don't care about any second opinion or third opinion on it. They're not going to have it. Is that open-minded? What I worry about someone coming on the campus, pulling out weapons, and then using my campus for target practice. What I worry about on my campus is even the stigma of anti-Semitism and uh, Islamophobia. That has a way of screwing up our own balance inside. One little thing before I let you go. Apologize for the long rant and raving of a lunatic here. You ever seen a Japanese Zen garden before? A long time ago in San Fernando Valley in Lake Balboa area. They changed the name so many times over my lifetime, I don't know what the hell it is anymore. But it's in the Smallville Dam area. Water Tillman Reclamation Area. You can Google this one if you need to. Right in it, outside of it, is this area that they've been fixing and keeping it up. Japanese Zen garden. And there's a lot of areas in there to just sit down and reflect. As a young man, I sat down. I didn't comprehend, but I felt. I felt reflection. I didn't understand it. Because as a young man, I was closed-minded. I hadn't had enough context or perspective to understand what it truly meant. When you look at either live shots or been to places where you've seen ripples effect on anything and everything, either caused by impact in the water or by wind, and you would see the reverberations all around. Dealing with a fixed image of a sand sculpture like that, trying to give us an indication, a static two-dimensional picture, or actually a three-dimensional static picture of the thing. I mean, you could take a picture of the lake and just look at it. Where's the cause? Where's the effect on the thing? You look at a Japanese garden, you see, asking the same question. I'm asking the same question. Where's the cause? Where's the effect? They're both. They're both. I get older, I'm thinking more of that. I'm thinking we hadn't seen anything. We constantly see the image being reflected. Well, we hadn't seen it. Even under still waters, there is still, in physics, there's still movement underneath. But we can see the placidity of the surface. We just don't see, until it gets erupted, the internal dynamics, the internal struggles and stripes underneath the calm veneer. Sometimes it gives me either comfort in that one or disturbs the crap out of me. Knowing that there's something underneath ready to blow or to erupt. And yeah, good one leading into Iceland and all the volcanisms, huh? Including Hawaii. Living in a world so dynamic and turbulent that we humans have to emulate our planet. More ways than one. I doubt we will ever see anything else that's going to be calmed down unless it's going to be a dead world inside of ourselves and inside of everybody else. Because in this life, everything else is turbulent. We want things structured and orderly. Unfortunately, Earth, life, and the universe doesn't run that way. But there is organization in some kind of chaos. Different perspectives, my dear. Different viewpoints. I doubt we have learned a damn thing in our lives, except by what we observe and think we're so damn smart. I keep asking myself, where the hell did my intelligence go? My arrogance, my pride, my ego, everything else that was supposed to be me. And I've seen so much death and tragedy in my own personal life, and a lot of things I've gone and experienced that. Sometimes I have to ask myself that. Maybe I'm starting to understand the older generation, how they feel every time they look at the younger generation. Because quite frankly, I don't know what the Sam Hill we're doing anymore. Do you? I lost that a long time ago. It's been good talking with you. I'm sorry we didn't have much time to really pull off any kind of deep seated conversation, but I had to get this off my chest. The question was asked, and hopefully, in a way, in a roundabout, topsy turvy journey through Alice in Wonderland. Maybe there was logic in there that we didn't see. We should have seen, but we hadn't. We didn't bother to seeing it. One little final thought. Every time I keep looking in the sky and I see the moon, when it starts going into crescent, I keep thinking about the Cheshire Cat. I keep wondering what he looks at when he sees humanity at its worst and at its best and tries to come up with something. Who's more matter, his world or ours? Have a good one.